Hello, Zalto Live listeners. Before we get started, we wanted to let you know that more teachings from Zen monk Claude AnShin Thomas are available in his two books, At Hell's Gate, A Soldier's Journey from War to Peace, and Bringing Meditation to Life, 108 Teachings on the Path of Zen Practice. Both are available wherever books are sold, and all proceeds go to the Zalto Foundation, dedicated to promoting nonviolence, awareness, and positive change.
Hello and welcome to Zalto Live, the podcast featuring Zen Buddhist Monk Claude AnShin Thomas, who will share with you his life experiences that includes not only military combat, personal violence, and addiction, but also healing, transformation, and the ongoing joy of everyday life. Please enjoy listening.
I did have one question mailed in. However, I will start by taking a question from the group. And again, encourage you to send me questions. Kenshin, and then Peter.
How do you respond when someone who has asked you for support consistently doesn't change?
With patience. It depends on my investment. If I have a significant investment in supporting someone, then patience is the watchword. And in that process, I constantly always have to look at myself. I have to explore my expectations. I have to explore my ideas of how they're supposed to be. I have to evaluate, am I failing to accept them as they are? I mean, generally, if I'm not so connected to someone, and they ask me for help or support, and I offer that, and they argue or debate or just refuse it, I don't press. I sort of like set them free. Just hold them a little more loosely. Yeah. Peter.
Is it possible to have your mind on the essential point and something else at the same time while supposedly sitting or meditating?
Well, what I can share with you is what the experience is like for me. Whether I'm sitting, working, talking, walking, what has happened is I've noticed that I have become the observer of my mind. So while I remain connected to the essential point, which is breath awareness and what evolves out of that, I get a chance to watch my mind. So I've noticed that I've become the observer of my thoughts, feelings, perceptions. Yes, and so how do I describe this? While I am the observer and there are two things happening, it's not as if there are two things happening. It's the whole notion of, while it is two, it's also not two. It is part of a larger interconnected experience. Yes, like that. Question. Myoko, and then Myo-zen.
Anshin, do you ever feel like you're going crazy when you have that experience or those experiences?
No. I will say that when I was fighting against that experience, then I felt crazy. Yes. Myo-zen.
Is it your impression that in our days in the society, the dehumanization is increasing? For example, also with more artificial intelligence?
No. And all that we call intelligence could be viewed as artificial from a certain angle of perception. There are 26 people here. And if I held something up, then there would be likely 26 different impressions of what that was. There's intelligence that transcends the intellect. What the intellect creates, which is influenced by the suffering we have inherited, is in some ways quite artificial. Ideas, theories, formulas, they're all quite artificial. Yeah, so I don't worry too much about all that. If I'm sitting just to sit, walking just to walk, eating just to eat, if I have this commitment to wake up, it's interesting what develops out of the process. The question that was mailed in said, I often respond to questions pointing in the direction of acceptance and surrender. Would I speak about that? What's to say? It's about noticing when I'm attempting to get the world to conform to my ideas of how it's supposed to be, which often puts me in conflict with the world. When I attempt to press a particular point, claiming some righteous rightness, even if I'm thoroughly convinced that I'm correct, I'm not going to argue with you. Well, not too much, maybe a little, but not too much. I need to be willing to listen to all of the sounds of the universe, to be able to listen to different ideas and perceptions, even though I may not agree with them, or even though I may think they are pretty bizarre. Yes, so this is all about acceptance and surrender. Accepting that I don't know. Even if I think I do, I don't know. I mean, I do know what I know. That's also subject to change. And surrender, just to stop fighting everything and everyone. That doesn't mean I become jello, but it is about this process of waking up. Question from the group. Yes, Lucia.
Thank you. I wonder why it is so important to you to make your bed in the morning.
It's about eliminating the clutter in my life. My outsides are reflective of my insides. Also, making the bed in the morning is really a sign of caring and affection for the support that the bed gives me through the night, to the warmth that the blanket provides to me, to the support that the pillow provides to me, and just simply taking the time, slowing processes down. Question, Kenshin, and then Keith.
I heard you say and write that it's important to keep telling our story. How do you make sure that you are not cementing one particular narrative?
Yeah, I think that shows itself as I continue to tell the story. But it's also rooted in the reality that the stories don't define me, not to use them for an identity, but rather as a tool to really wake up to that interconnected reality that shaped my existence. Keith.
Is the essential point part of relative and absolute at the same time?
Well, I have read that within all things are all things. Makes sense to me. Yes, I don't think about it too much. No, really, I just don't think about these things too much. It's not important if it's this or that. It just becomes important to really cultivate that relationship. Of one breath, followed by one breath, followed by one breath. Everything I do all the time. To be willing to see what is it that I constantly grasp onto, to anesthetize myself from that which I consciously or unconsciously don't want to be revealed. Question.
Ivan has one.
So last weekend I was with my son. We were for a walk and followed by one of our dogs in the countryside. The dog killed 3 chickens, and my son and I witnessed that killing. Now he's 1 year old, and he clearly was affected by this. How do I explain this to him?
That may take time because of his level of comprehension. I mean, the dog's just a dog, doing what dogs do. Not all dogs do that, but I hope you paid for the chickens. It's a small thing to do. But to really, I don't know how verbal your son is, but to watch how he works with it. Really pay attention. Not so much the intellectual explanation as it is to see how this experience, how he's working with this experience, and how this experience is working with him. Question from the group. Yes, Peter.
Do you think a machine could ever become sentient?
That's a question you need to ask the MIT people. If it becomes sentient, yeah, why not? I mean, all of this, a computer, all of this is merely a reflection of human processes. However, if the machine becomes sentient, then the question is it a machine? Well, I would say, as much as we're a machine, but really, I don't worry. I don't think too much about those. If I met a sentient machine on the street, then I guess I would have to ask that sentient machine, first I would like to ask the machine how it would like to be identified and see how we could interact. What I can tell you is that Siri and Joseph, they're still not very flexible. They really struggle sometimes to understand me. So yeah. Question. Natalie. No,
yes,
wait. Oh, that Natalie. Okay.
Yes. Not Natalia.
Sorry. I was confused. I didn't see you up there.
I read emotions are empty, and the problem is I tend to attach to them, and then they become very powerful, and I have this feeling I'm right. So my emotion is right, and it gets even bigger. How could I do better?
Well, we have to be cautious about our idea of what emptiness is. Emotions exist. I'm thankful for them. The full range of them. I make my best effort to not define or identify them, and I make my best effort to not attach to them. That has taken time. And the desire to not attach to them. As an example, so Kenshin, I'm gonna talk about the bird.
Yeah.
Okay. So 3 days ago, Kenshin and a friend rescued a baby bird. I think they found it on the beach. No nest in sight. So they took the bird and they took it to a wildlife refuge place. They rescued injured or wounded animals. And if they can be supported and released, they do that. If their injuries don't permit release, then they provide them a really nice home. They care for them. So Kenshin found this place, and they took the baby bird there. Kenshin sent me a message. I think it was sometime last night, my time, that the little bird died. I was doing quite okay, and it just died. And really, I felt so sad. But it doesn't overwhelm me, because I don't have any judgment about these feelings. They don't define me, and I'm glad that I have them. Yes, because I was rooting for the little bird. All things come into existence, pass away, including me. So, first, a desire to attain more balance with the feelings. Do not attempt to identify what emptiness is. Emptiness isn't the absence of something. It's the ability to be present with the fullness of existence, neither rejecting nor being identified by or controlled by. I mean, there was a time in my life I used powerful emotions. I used emotions like drugs. Yes, they were powerful and exhilarating, and when I acted on them, I felt so strong or so sad. But when they passed, then there was I felt depressed and empty, like hungover. It's not the case today. But I had to want to allow myself to be present to all that is, and not reject or attach, and see how that developed. And I'm for the most part okay with it. Not always. Sometimes I still get caught. Either not wanting to feel anything or getting trapped in a cycle of emotions. When this is happening, moment of recognition, like the bell singing, I stop. I realize that I've lost contact with the essential point. I come back to my breath. Question from the group. Questions in the group.
I have a question, Anshin.
Oh, is that you? Oh, I thought you were just...
Where would you draw a line when your being generous crosses over into being exploited?
I always have a choice. I know that. So I'm never exploited. I'm only exploited if my generosity is not generosity. If I'm giving something, the expectation of getting something. Even if that giving is the expectation that people will say how wonderful I am for giving. What I have to look at is just that point. Because if I'm not giving just to give, or if I'm imposing my giving on others, this is a source of violence that's even stronger than hitting someone. Question from the group.
Thank you.
Yes, Kay.
Hello, Anshin.
Hello, Kay.
Can you expand on what you just said about how inappropriate giving is fodder for a more...
I'll do my best.
Extreme reaction?
The immediate example comes into my mind. Well, a couple actually. I engage frequently with the homeless population, or rather the population of people living outside. But when I engage with them, I don't engage with them with the idea that they need something. I'm not engaging with them because they need some place to, I think they need some place to live. I'm engaging with them just to get to know them, understanding that I'm not separate from them, gaining their trust. They can understand that I'm not there to force something on them or sell something to them. I'm not there to fix them or heal them, because I am them. And in this process of getting to know one another, if there is something that they need, they'll let me know. And if there's something that I can do to support them with that, then I will. But I don't approach them. I don't approach them with the idea that they are less than or deficient from me somehow. I lived outside homeless 2 years. I lived in an abandoned car in an alleyway in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Yes, 70 to 72 in that time frame. Routinely, the social workers would come out, and when they came, when the word was out in the community that the social workers were coming, or the other people who wanted to help us, I would hide because I didn't want to hurt them, because they had absolutely no interest in me as a person, and only in getting me to conform to their agenda. What I needed to be helped. The same is true for me as a former soldier. There's too many people who want to fix us. I do not need to be fixed. I do not need to be healed. I am not broken. Healing is done by us, not to us. How to meet us. So I need to be really steady in my own person, because really, if I'm not steady in my own person, then I'm all consumed by too many fixed ideas of what help and support is. So when my son was younger, he just learned how to drive. So I had an older car that he could drive when he came to visit me. But he needed to be responsible for that car. He had to pay for the fuel. He had to pay for the insurance. And when he was driving it, he needed to pay attention. And on a certain occasion, he was not paying attention, and he had an accident. He hit someone from behind. Didn't cause damage to the other car, but it did to his car. So it needed to be repaired. He needed to pay for those repairs. And he was shocked when he found out how much the repairs cost. But the greatest help and support I could give him was to support him in finding a way to get the vehicle repaired. He did ask me for help. Because he asked me for help, I did support him some. But the whole reality that we're talking about here is nestled in my own self-awareness. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you for listening to this episode on Zalto Live. If you would like additional information, please look at the show notes or visit zalto.org. That's ZALTHO.org. Our work is made possible solely through donations, so please consider making a tax-deductible gift on our website. We wish you well and thank you.